Good evening and welcome to the Speak Easy podcast. I am your host, Constance Willard, and today, here on dating and Christian relationships, we're going to talk about, are you willing to fully invest in a relationship? Are you willing to fully invest in a relationship? Now, as we all know, relationships require work. And when we put that work and that time and that effort into a relationship, guess what? That's an investment. Just like your 401k, your Christmas savings, your chime card, whatever you're using, it's an investment. And so today we have Siobhan, the relationship strategist, here with us. We have Tracy Carr, Elder Tracy Carr, in the house with us. And last but not least, Mr. To Act Accordingly, Daniel J. Williams, is here in the house with us, and we're going to talk about this very issue. Are you willing to fully invest in a relationship? And so I'm going to say good evening to my panelists.
Good evening.
Hey, hey, okay.
Hey.
So, somebody, give me your thoughts on this about making that full investment in a relationship. What does that entail?
All right, I'll go first.
Okay.
But what I'm going to say is what it entails. If you're talking about investing in somebody in a relationship, you first have to have a surplus in order to invest in somebody else. You got to be full. You got to be full, and you have to be coming with deposit slips and not withdrawal slips.
Okay. Okay. That's a good analogy. Very good. Very good. So you have to come with deposit slips and not withdrawal slips. So what the brother is saying is you got to bring something to the table. Okay? And as they say in the hood, you better bring one to take one. All right. All right. I like that. I like that. Tracy, tell me about it. What does it mean to fully invest in a relationship?
Oh man, an investment. I mean, as far as knowing, where you're going. One of the things that I learned about investment, is the dividend. Like, how much are you willing to pour in? And when I say pour in, I'm speaking more so is that you can't just have one person just constantly pouring in, and then you like he just said, that deposit. 1 minute you want to pour in, but you want to withdraw, or you can be in one place and truly invested in a whole nother place. What does that look like? So as far as that investment, I'm talking about, when I say direction, I'm talking about build up. That's talking about the word complete. If I'm not complete, I mean, how I'm going to, be a full investment. I'll put it to you like this, because this is what I learned as far as being complete. A lot of people feel that they come to another party to complete them. No, it doesn't happen. Because I say you can up and leave me the next day, and if you're gone, then I'm lost. So, I feel like you have to be complete yourself. I'm not going to say you're going to be completely all the way there. But as far as if I invest in myself, I never forget when somebody told me, you don't take care of yourself the way you work, I'm not going to invest in you. Well, you ain't taking care of yourself, so how am I investing in you? So that means we're not going to be a good, what you call it? You're not going to be a good 401k.
Okay. Okay.
So.
Okay. All right. So you're going to go directly to Prudential instead of fooling around with Stash.
Yeah.
Is that what I'm saying? Is that what you're saying? You're going to go straight to Prudential or Wells Fargo or some of them, but you're not going to fool around with Stash.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. Brother Stash may not be offering the best. Okay. All right. So thank you so much, Tracy. Siobhan, fully investing in a relationship, what does that look like?
Oh man. So since we're on the topic of finances, let's relate it to risk. It's a decision, really. Number one, you have to decide that that's what you want. If you want a good relationship, now we talk about a good relationship here. Yes. If you have to make a decision that this is what you're going to do, and then you can't be afraid. All right. Because sometimes we don't do things because the what if. Well, what if it don't work out? What if he or she leaves? What if, this thing goes downhill or whatever? Okay. But make a decision, invest. And I think that I like what the other two people said as far as being whole. Be whole, but also have some expectations when you're coming into it. I talk about expectation. Sometimes people have like lists, stuff like that. I'm not talking about that, but having an expectation that things are going to work out, I think that will be a good thing as well. Because if you go in there with one foot in the door and one foot out the door, then you're already losing. So you want to, it's risk taking, but with the assumption that it's going to work out. I think that's where we should start at.
Okay. Now, and I can say for myself personally, realizing now at the ripe age that I am now versus how I felt about things when I was in my 20s and 30s. I know for me now, it's a matter of, you're right, it's a decision. Okay. And my thing is, at this stage in the game, do I want to work that hard? That's my thing. Do I really want to work that hard? Because it takes work. And it's a consistent work. It's not today I'm going to do X, Y, and Z, and today I'm going to be everything that he needs me to be, and then next week, the hell with you, I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to just be me. It's a give and take situation. It's a give and take. So first of all, you have to decide, are you able and equipped to make an investment? And is that person that you want to invest in, are they able and equipped to make an investment in you? Then, of course, are they willing to make an investment? Because there's one thing for you to be willing, and then they are not willing. It's a constant choice. Do you really want to work that hard? And I can say this evening for Miss Constance, the host of this podcast, no, I don't. I'm at peace here on this hill by myself. Now, God can change that dynamic any day. I understand that. He could send that right somebody, say, you know what? I'm going to make that investment in you. Are you willing to make it in me? And I might say, sure. But today, May 9th, 2023, no.
She gave a date.
I don't want to work that hard. I don't want to work that hard. I'm at peace here on this hill by myself. If nobody rings that doorbell, that's okay with me. And if somebody does ring that doorbell, it better be the UPS man, drop it off my Amazon, okay, or FedEx. It better not be anybody else. Okay? At this point in the game, I am content with me. I enjoy my company. Well, I've always enjoyed my own company. Being an only child, you learn how to entertain yourself. I enjoy my company. I enjoy it, and I'm at peace being here by myself. And I used to hear my mother say all the time, oh, don't worry about me. At one time she was afraid to stay by herself. And so if my dad went out of town, she wanted me to come and stay with her. I said, why don't you come to my house and stay with me? No, I need you over here. And then she got to a point one day, she's like, no, go ahead, I'm fine. Me and the good Lord, we done worked it out. We got it going on. And she was at peace in that house by herself. And I see what she meant. I'm at peace. I don't want anybody invading my space. I don't want anybody interrupting my space. If I got to make tonight that I'm going to sit down and I'm going to binge watch all these shows that I like, and me and my snacks, well, I got enough snacks for me. I'm not willing to share my snacks. And I don't want you in my space. So it's an investment, and I understand that. So I'm not going to fool myself, and I'm not going to fool anyone else and say, hey, yeah, knowing good and well, I'm not ready to make an investment, nor am I willing to make it. So relationships require work. They require work to maintain and to sustain them. And just like we take our vehicles in for servicing, you got to get that relationship service sometime, because some things need to be fixed and worked out. Some things need to be discussed and talked about. So Daniel, what do you think about that?
It's all about them knowing their roles. I'm almost sidestep for a second. When I was back doing what I did as far as when I had my ex-wife and I was cheating and I had my side, I had my jump off, she had to know her position. She had to know what she was. So with a relationship, it's like, so you know what? A bank wants to see your business plan. Yo, they know it's going to be risk in investing in a business, but you know what? The bank is attractive to the person that wants to go into business, and so the person in business needs to look attractive to the bank. Not just about talking and it sounds good, but show me what you work, show me your plan, show me what's solid about you. So you need to know what's solid about you first, so you're not questioning yourself when you're sitting across the table from the other person and you conversing, you having that true communication. Is like, you know what, I got this going on in my life. I got this going on in my life. I'm looking to go in this direction. This is where I want to be at it. Because they don't make a merger unless it's going to be beneficial for both. No businesses do business with each other unless it's going to be beneficial on both sides. No one side of the business is not going to give more than the other side of the business, and they both have to come out winning. So a relationship is supposed to be beneficial for both. So you don't go in looking at, this is what you come with your long list of expectations. This is what I want. This is what I want. I expect to get this. I expect to get this. Because when you go into a relationship, even if it's not a marriage, in the Bible, the marriage saying the two become one, but even if you're seeking to go down that road, I have to leave Daniel alone and start saying us, we. What are we going to build? What are we going to bring? What I'm bringing this to the table. You're bringing this to the table because we're expecting to have this outcome. It's all about what we're going to do, us, and take out the I's in the me. So I just believe that, in that, with that investment, you go in and now you're no longer thinking about the direction of my career so much and what I want to do at this point, because it's no longer what I'm going to be doing at this point, because now you added somebody else onto you. And now you're not walking by yourself anymore. So now your decisions have to be also considerate for the other person that's involved with you. So you got to go from that selfish standpoint and be like, all right, you know what? I'm really ready for a mutual type of thing. It's not sharing, it's mutual, because you don't have anything anymore. It's between the two of you, because what I do affects her and what she does affects me. So we have to be in one mind and in one movement and in one motion all the time. And I yield.
Okay, amen, Daniel. That was very good. And so again, expectations. Expectations have to be discussed and they have to align. And if you do not have that discussion prior to, there will be no alignment. And then there's going to be chaos. So you got to have that discussion about expectations. I expect this. And sometimes some of the things that we expect may be a little bit unreasonable. Okay? That's why we need to have that candid discussion before we go any further in a relationship. Bring everything out in the open. As Johnny Taylor said, everything's out in the open. Bring it out there. Talk about it. Lay it on the table. Okay. Well, I expect my shirts to be ironed a certain kind of way. Okay. Well, I expect this amount of money. So talk about those things. Okay. Because what's important to you may not be of importance to the person that you're involved with. So you need to have those candid discussions and be honest. I mean, don't sit there and say, well, okay, well, all right, baby, all right. And then 6 months down the road, well, he get on my nerves. He think I'm going to do all that. No. Be honest. Confront those things head on. Talk about it head on. Be honest. And so that's why I said today, May 9th, 2023, at 6:30 p.m., the answer is no. I'm not willing to work that hard to make that investment. I will stick with Prudential and Mr. Prudential only, and that's it. Now, again, I could change my mind tomorrow. I could meet someone that just sweeps me off my feet. I doubt it, but I could, because all things are possible. But again, should I? Oh, we're going to have some difficult conversations. We're going to have some candid conversations. We're going to have some crucial conversations, and some crucial confrontations, but it's best to go ahead and get it out in the open before you get in a mess. That's why so many relationships are going awry today, because no one took the time to sit down and to talk about things and to be honest. And then now you're all caught up in this thing. And well, what happened to her? That's not the woman I met. And well, what happened to him? You're not the man that I met. And so that's where the confusion starts. And so we got some comments from some of our viewers. We got Miss Tiffany Price from Houston, Texas says, all right now. All right. She's agreeing with what we're saying here this evening. Thank you so much, Tiffany, for tuning in with us. We got Dr. Patricia Goodman said, good evening. And so, yes, investment. So I'm going to ask my panelists. So we say investment. What does a true investment mean to you, Tracy?
I'm going to say true investment. It means giving your all. And you know me, I'm always going to sidetrack some kind of way. It made me think about just past relationships. It's amazing how people tell you what they think you want to hear in order to get in the door. That was a relationship that I just got out of. And when I say that, all the cards were laid on the table. You know, okay, I'm in the ministry. Oh yeah, okay, you know, oh that's good. You know, I can do this. You know, and you start off as though you're leading, and the truth was you're really following. So, you know, there's a lot of things that you know, I discerned, and it sounds good, but at the same time, you know, you have to know. And because I've known this person in the past, you know, I've seen some of the things that I know he was willing to do, but because of situations that he was involved in, as far as, you know, things that he had gone through, as far as death and, you know, things, it's a lot of things that were coming at one time, and it kind of fell off. And, you know, and then I found myself kind of trying to conform into his behavior, and that's not me. And so because of that, you know, it was a hurtful situation because I couldn't believe that I allowed that door to open. And I had to ask myself, as far as my investment, I tried to give them everything. I tried to be a woman, the wife. I tried to be everything I could possibly do, you know, be. But at the same time, the investment, you know, I found myself getting to the place where I done had enough, because now my investment is really null and void. And so, you know, when you get into that place, you know, I believe that you have to recognize your own investment, as far as knowing who you are, as far as what is your investment and how much are you willing to give. Because sometimes you feel like you're there, but because you have been so depleted and you constantly give, and you have takers and nobody is depositing, you don't even realize you don't even have any more withdrawals. And I'm not even saying from a financial aspect. I'm talking about from a mental, from a physical, whether you're broken, you're not healed, you haven't been delivered, you haven't been set free, and don't even realize. I was talking to a client earlier, and one of the things, she's no different from you, Constance, and we were just talking about at the age that we are, she's about to be 60. I'm about to be, well, I'm 52. But she was just saying, are you really willing to take a risk at this time, at this age, and getting to know somebody, you know, because everybody has their own lifestyle, everybody lives totally different. And now you mean to tell me now you're going to come together and try to invest in one another when, you know, like you said, I'm at peace being alone. You know, I'm at peace where I can tune you out if I really want to. Or, you know, she said, I just don't know if I want to, you know, and because they have so many obstacles from a, let's see, how do I want to say this? Where you can handle your own business if you want to. You know, she's like, I don't know if I want to deal with that, you know. And I was like, wow, but it's one of them things, you know, you can handle your own business nowadays. So what are you really ready? What are you willing to really invest in? Do you want to invest in a relationship? The thing is that knowing that you God first in all that we do, and you get in that place where if God is the center and God is the foundation, God will send you what you need. He'll give you what you need. But as far as that risk, are you willing to trust the process and whatever avenue that God has taken you? And are you willing to let that past go? Because I can say now, if I was to enter into a strong relationship, I would know better and how to process it. I can honestly say back then, I don't know if it was because of the things that I had gone through. I didn't realize I wasn't set free or I wasn't delivered from some things. Now that I know where it's a clean slate, I truly believe I can invest totally different because I know I know what God has for me, and it's a whole different meaning for me now. So the investment totally changes, and I believe that is the thing that people don't take the time to monitor nowadays. Are you willing to be in a relationship where, from a biblical standpoint, where that man actually leads and you are the helpmate, and where you can come in and y'all can join in, and my favorite term is build that empire, together, not separate, or where I can encourage him or push him to do, even focus on his vision, but at the same time, we're two individuals, we're striving for one, but at the same time, we can come together and join in and build an, investment and come together. So, some of the rules is your money, my money. No, I really don't want to be with somebody where your money is going to be your money and my money, even though I would love that. But I mean, it's just it's the criteria of what it is that, you want it to look like in God's way, not our way, but in God's way. And I yield my mic.
Oh, amen, Tracy. Very good. Very good. And again, it's all about choices and what are you willing to give up? Because you have to give up some things when you do that. I know for me, giving up my freedom to hop on a plane when I get ready and just take off and just pack a bag and not worry about leaving somebody behind, that's going to be tough. That will be extremely tough for me. Okay. If I decide, hey, it's Saturday and I'm going to get up and get dressed and head to the fish bank, I'm going. Whether you want to go or not, I'll see you when I get back. And so it's a matter of giving up. It's give and take. Because guess what? They're going to come with some packages and some things that they're not going to want to give up. So that's why those conversations need to take place. They need to be had. And we either going to agree or agree to disagree and move on. So thank you so much, Tracy. Siobhan, investment.
Yeah, so investment, man, when we're talking about agreeing in the conversations, absolutely. Because it's one thing to talk and to tell somebody what you want or what you expect or what you would like. But it's another thing to get that person feedback and find out whether or not they actually agree. Because you can talk and talk and talk and say, hey, this is what the deal is. And they could be like, but check in. Go back, even if you have to say it again. Hey, remember that conversation that, I just want to revisit this, or if things aren't adding up. Hey, we had a conversation about X, Y, and Z. This isn't adding up. Do you remember? Oh, no, I was just not my head. Okay, we got to talk about this. And those people got to be willing to sit down and actually carve out. You can say you're the type of person that doesn't like confrontation, so to speak. I think maybe my personality is similar to Constance, and people might think we're confrontational, but it's not about Tracy shaking her head. So maybe Tracy like that too. I don't know, but it's not it's getting it out and getting clear, and then finding somebody who really understands that. And I get you, Constance. If you really have that peace, you want to be able to do what you want to do, make that clear, because you might find somebody who actually is the same way. So making a decision, do I want love? Because, and then how do you want love? How do you want a relationship? Because we can just sit here and picture that a relationship is one way, but if you talk to different people, they're going to tell you different things that they want out of it, what they like about it, what they dislike about it. And remember that relationship, you're always going to change. Like that's the one constant, is always going to change. Be ready for that and have those conversations so that way you'll know when it's coming up. And don't be afraid to speak up, because oftentimes we keep things to ourselves. We'll go talk to our friends about it. We talking to everybody but the person that we're in a relationship with. Sometimes they're not aware of certain things, and it just requires a conversation like, oh, hey, I didn't even realize that. And we can clear this right up. Other times it's on purpose. And so you're going to find that out, and then you'll be able to make a decision after that. But those conversations absolutely are critical. And I think that absolutely we should have them at the beginning, but we should have them constantly. 1 second.
Okay.
They should be talking all the time. Anytime that you see something coming up, don't be afraid. Open up your mouth, and it takes practice. So if you're not used to it, the more that you do it, the more it will become comfortable. So uncomfortable conversations, when you practice them, become common in the home. And so just keep doing it. Keep going after it. Talk and say what's on your mind.
Exactly. Tracy said something about God gives you what you need. I have a good friend, and she had gone through a second divorce. And so she was a lot like me. She was just going to be by herself. She was okay with that. And her mother told her about this minister. And she says, Mama, I know, I don't want to do that. Said, nope, I don't want to date a preacher. Nope. Well, anyway, she met the preacher. And 7 years later, they are together, they're married. And when I tell you, he was what she needed. He was that missing piece. He is what she needed. And that's what God sent him to her. He is what she needed. And now she is just as happy. She's fulfilled. They work well together. It's okay. Now, I'm not saying it's perfect. Okay. But you're right, Tracy. God does give us what we need. Now, Siobhan said there may be someone out there who's like me that likes to do the same thing. If he is, we on live broadcast. I doubt if my phone will be ringing, but just in case. Call me. So it's all about investments, okay? And again, you're right. You have to be equipped to invest. Now, Stash says you can start investing with just $5. Prudential won't even talk to you with $5. So how much are you willing to accept for that seed investment? Daniel.
Well, the more we go into this conversation, the more I think about this scripture, I was trying to find it. It was really being on my mind, and it's from Proverbs. So it's from the wisdom book, and it says that the blessing of the Lord, it enriches, and he gives, and what he gives, it adds no sorrow. We look at relationships so much from a sense of what went wrong with the past relationships, and we look at that's why we're always measuring and trying to measure and balance and get something adjusted before even going forward. Because if the Lord give it, it's going to be effortless. It's really going to be a whole lot. It's going to be compatibility. The turbulence that we really experience, the difficulty in relationships, shouldn't be a struggle of bumping heads, but more so just to getting through life part of things. The things that come up that bring just the merging of money and balancing the books. We shouldn't have to go at each other about personalities, because it's an understanding of, all right, when we put it all up front on the table, if I got a real aggressive nature about me and she has a more meek type of personality, so when I'm talking, she always gonna get offended because she think I'm talking too harsh. We already know that's not gonna work. Ain't no need to even go forward with it. It's some people that at the very beginning, you just know right offset from personalities that, this not even gonna work. I don't need to go into the deep things about whether you leave your underwear and stuff laying around the room. Just from our conversation, we should know, are we heading in the same direction? Do we have the same kind of mindset? Some people grow into each other, but they're still kind of working. They still kind of have the same type of mindset of like, oh yeah, so if you got an app for business, or if I got business in mind, she might not like business, being a business owner so much, but she might like doing the logistics of stuff, the paperwork a part of it. That's a commonality. That's going to work together. It's still beneficial in going in the same direction. But if I'm a lawyer and she's a doctor, man, our field's going to be pulling us in two different directions. When we going to ever have something that we build? What are we really building together besides wealth? We're spending more time apart building our careers, and then at the end of the day, life is over with. So what have we been investing in outside of ourselves? It's about building the life, so we actually having fun building something together for us to enjoy together. So at the beginning, those questions on so where you come from, how, because everybody's been raised differently. Two different kind of, come from two different cultures. One household is with money, and the other household believes in, let's sit down and budget. No budget and whatnot. That's a conflict right there at the beginning. You can tell everything at the beginning, but I think we put so much emphasis on looking at future relationships based off of all the bad relationships, because we're meeting a new person. So we holding so much expectations off of, all right, of course you're not going to go into something blind to be hurt, but when you come in with things that still raw from past hurts, you don't even need to be trying to be going forward at all. Yes. Stay by yourself until your bank account is full enough to where you can stand on your own. And then when you're looking at that other business, when you're looking at that business partner to go and make that merger, even if they're not as full as you are, they still need to be just about full, because you don't need a depleted account coming to you.
All right. I think Daniel has summed it up very well. Very well. Okay. So, Siobhan, what are your thoughts on what Daniel said?
So I think that a lot of what he said I agree with, but some of it I don't. And the parts that I don't agree with is that you don't have to be perfect coming in. You're not going to know everything. And I'm not saying that you said someone has to be perfect, but as far as compatibility, I think that it can change over time. And sometimes when you get with another person, you learn and you grow. So you might not even know that you're into something until you start having a conversation. They can introduce you to something. And then let's use the example that you use with the aggressive, like one person is very aggressive, the one is meek and mild. Maybe if that person speaks up and let the other person know, maybe they're just used to rolling over people with their aggressiveness. But if the meek person is like, hey, that actually hurts me, maybe they'll want to change. Let's just say that it's a negative trait. Maybe they'll want to change that negative trait because they want to make sure that they're, being sensitive to their partner. So I don't think that it's a necessary. So I'll put it like this. Yes, you do want to be compatible with somebody, but it's not going to be 100%. You can learn, you can grow, you can change, and then it's also, that's just a small percentage of it. I think that when two people come together and this is one thing about it. You can only control yourself. You only really know what you think and how you truly feel. You can only hope that the other person is being honest with you. But if you guys agree to have like a foundation of, we are going to work on this and we're going to do what it takes to make sure that this thing is healthy, then I believe you can get through anything. And as far as the relationship requiring work, I always say that relationships require work, but the work doesn't have to be hard. And a lot of times it's because you can go at it in the very beginning. You can upload some things. You can get ahead of a lot of things. And then cutting off. So I'm not a fan of this. Okay, especially in the marriage, just cut it off when it's not going right, because feelings are fleeting, right? You should be upset 1 second and the next second you're okay. But as far as if you, like Daniel was talking about, if you see something from the very beginning, we have discernment, and a lot of times we ignore it. Okay, and then later on we'll be like, "Oh man, that was something that I see." don't be afraid to cut it off just simply because you might be lonely or what ifs or whatever. You got to get good at cutting that off when we know for sure. But like Tracy said, you got to go to the Lord because He will tell you yes or no. It's a lot of times we just don't listen to Him. So, like I said, I agree with a lot of what he said, but I think that I'm a half glass full type person. So I just I think that anything could be worked out with the Lord. So that's just my perspective on it.
Okay, thank you so much, Siobhan. And again, things can be worked out if you want to work it out. If both parties are willing to compromise, because there's some compromise involved, but I think a lot of times we go into relationships with all these false exceptions or expectations, looking at stuff we've seen on television, on reality television, and we say, well, that's what I'm going to do. No, it's not, because it's reality television, but we all know it's not real. It's not reality. Okay. And so you have to bond with someone who is like-minded, okay, like-spirited. Now, are you going to agree on everything? No. But you have to be able to come to a common ground and agree and discuss and make decisions. You just have to. My paternal grandparents were married for 65 years, and they were two totally different personalities, but they were able to sit down and talk and discuss and agree. I never seen two people talk so much. My grandfather was interested in one thing: the 10 o'clock news and the a.m. news, and that was it as far as television. He was not concerned about anything else. And so I'll never forget when cable first came out, and my grandmother was trying to convince him that they needed cable. And he was like, no, we don't. All we need is what we got right now. And she said, well, you can get 150 channels. He says, I don't watch but one. What am I going to do with 150? But he was looking at it from his point of view, not her point of view. And the same token, she was looking at it from her point of view, but not his point of view. So long story short, they didn't get cable. Okay, until some years later. But at that point, they did not. But that was the discussion. He could only see the need for what he was getting, that 10 o'clock news. That's all he needed it for. But she was looking at the Edge of Night and all this other stuff she wanted to watch. And so, like I said, years later, they got the cable. But why? Because they sat down and they had to revisit and discuss and talk about those things. And so we have to be considerate of each other's feelings. We really do. Now, my thing is, do I just totally give up myself and what I believe and what I want? I'm not there yet. I'm just going to be honest. I am not there yet. Now, I'm willing to discuss and compromise. And at the end of the day, if we need to agree to disagree, that's fine. But there's just some things I'm just not willing to do. And so that's why I'm just going to sit right here on this hill. And I'm not moving. I've staked my claim and I'm not moving. I'm not moving. And so let's get into, I miss Pastor Cockfield because he can give us our biblical references, but that's okay. I'll get him later on. And so let's talk about, we've talked about the investment and, how to talk to each other and how to relate with each other. What if somebody is coming into this thing and they're not being truthful? As Tracy said earlier, they'll talk that good game to get your attention, but then maybe midstream, they want to change up. They didn't present themselves fully and truthfully. How do you handle a situation like that?
Your mic went out, Constant.
It did?
Yes.
We didn't hear what name you said.
Oh, I said, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, so I was saying, maybe you met someone and, you're talking and you're putting your cards on the table and they are putting cards on the table, but they may not be truthful cards. They're not being truthful or transparent. How do you handle a situation like that when, you put your cards on the table and they said what sounded good to you at first, and now here we are in the midst of this thing, and now they want to change gears and, oh, no, that's not what I want to do. How do you handle a situation like that?
Act accordingly.
Yeah. Did you say act accordingly? It kept cutting out.
I didn't
right.
say anybody's name. I just said how. And so,
Oh,
okay, so since I have to call on people like the teacher in school,
Yep.
who had to call them.
Well, man, you know, that's a because first of all, I'm gonna say, yo, it's just like a job or just like any. There's a probation period before we even go forward. You know what I'm saying? There's there's that period beforehand to where you know what I mean. Both honestly, it wouldn't just be myself, but both should be doing it. Really feeling the other one out, not to see whether or not they're being deceitful or not, or being dishonest, but you really kind of being watchful to see whether or not, just like just like the bank, when you present your business plan to them, your business proposal, they're going through it to make sure. Let me see how these numbers looking for this 5-year projection, this 10-year projection. Let me see whether or not this is something I really need to, I can go forward in, and it's going to be good for me too, because I'm going to give them the money. They get whatever they need to get. And then I come up short. I'm having problems with getting what I need to get out of them. So it's you got to put everything's supposed to have a probational period before you just actually finalize it and say I'm going forth. And in that probational period, that not how whatever your probation period is, that 90 days, that's 4 months, 120 days, whatever, you ought to get a good sense on a person's personality, because a liar can only hold on to being a good liar for so long. They're gonna have to slip unless they're just a career con person, But the average person, hey, if they're a liar, they're gonna slip, and they're gonna start showing. They're gonna let the slip show at some point, and you're gonna find out what they really about. So, I mean, just be watchful in the beginning and have that probation period. Don't just because it sounds good and it looks good, just go diving into it. We get involved with our eyes too much, with our eyes and our ears. They look good. It sounds good. Oh, we got some chemistry. A lot of relationships get started because of that sexual chemistry, that attractive look, that what it looks like at the eyes. And oh, they're saying all of the right things. I really would like some of that in my life. Oh, that sounds real good. I'd like to, because you know what? Predators know what to feed their prey. They know they've been watching and they've been studying weaker vessels for so long that they know how to approach and present to seem harmless and to seem right. So, there's a degree of, that's why you got to have a probational period for anything that you do. There's a period that you just watch and see before you say, okay, I'm going to give you the final answer on this. This is the final go. And that's what I feel about that.
And so, Daniel, it's interesting you said about the terms. I was going to ask that question next. What are the terms of the probationary period? How long should it last? I never forget, my dad was dating someone, and he did this, and then at the end, he told me about it. And he said, that she wanted them to live together. He says, okay, well, 2 weeks is the probationary period. And that 2 weeks should tell everything you need to know about each other. Well, they didn't make it 2 weeks. So he called me and told me about it. He said, well, so I said 2 weeks. Okay, so she moved in. He says, well, she didn't like to cook. And that's not going to work with me because I have to eat. So that didn't work. Then she didn't know how to dress. And that wasn't good. Because your mother was a classy dresser. And I'm like, why are you bringing mama into this? 15 years later, why are you bringing her into it? Okay, she was a classy dresser. She doesn't know how to dress. I can't take her around my friends looking like that. And then she doesn't know how to act. And I'm like, okay, so the probationary period was set for 2 weeks. It didn't last, but I guess a week.
Wow.
It happened so fast that my family that lives next door to them didn't even know the woman was down there. And so my thing is, again, he told her his expectation 2 weeks. He said 2 weeks, but I don't think he made it clear about his expectations of a hot meal every day and his expectation about how she dresses and all those things. And so, again, we have to make those things plain. We have to be honest about that. If you expect a certain thing you just need to go ahead and put it on the table. Now, you may or may not get it, but at least put it out there. So when you don't get it, if you accept that person at face value and you put it out there and you don't get it, you can't get mad with anybody but yourself.
That's right.
You can't get mad. If you go along with it and accept it, it's on you. But if you make it plain and you say, well, no, I can't deal with that, that's something different. Something different. Tracy, what are your thoughts?
I'm laughing. You just said something about the expectations. As a woman that, how they say, I can't think of the phrase about giving, when you was talking about what your father expected, sometimes, and I love to cook. I love to cook. I love to clean. I love to do all kinds of things. Trust me. But I'm not trying to be wife material if I'm not going to be your wife material.
Come on now.
And the reason why I say that, I can do all those things if I choose to, but it's a choice. My thing is, why would I try to build myself up or put myself in a position to make sure that this is your need or your desire when I'm just around in the bush for the moment? And so because of that, and people, it was even a point where even when I was married, I like I said, once again, I love to cook, but my ex-husband told me, he said he didn't need all that. Well, that was something that I loved doing and that I desired doing. So I got out of the mode of cooking. I told y'all last time about tomatoes. So, so it just, so it's just one of those things where, because, you have to be careful. And the reason for that is because if you were one that grew up with rejection and not knowing what that rejection looked like, you could put yourself back in that position because once again, you're giving somebody something which is a part of you. And the truth is they don't really want it, So it's just, I think as you learn and grow, and even with the conditions of living with somebody, is it a roommate situation or is it going to be a lifetime situation? Or, you know what I'm saying? It just, you have to establish those things. And the other thing is, I can't be something to you that somebody else was, because that's just not who I am. Either you're going to take me for who I am, or you're going to go back to what you want and what you desire. And I call it misery. So it's just one of them things where you have to put yourself in a position, and for me, I'm very spontaneous. And because of that, I just like to do very unusual things. So because of that, now in my life, I take 1 second at a time, one step at a time. And hey, you might say, hey, come on over, let me feed you, or let's do certain things. But I just look at things totally different, then you have some men to be like, hey, let me cook for you, and sometimes you're not used to that. So because of that, I think it's just establishing where you're going and how you're going to, go about it. And, even from a sexual content, of course, you shouldn't do that until you get married. But sometimes people are put in positions where they are, what do you want that to look like? What do you desire? What are your weaknesses? What are your medication issues? Because you don't want to get in that position where, once again, my favorite, and Constance, we're going to talk about this.
Yeah.
Why does the power of the P define who we are?
Mm-hmm.
Why do we allow life circumstances to lead and guide us to a place that doesn't exist? So I've had children, I done had these relationships. Yeah, I may have been molested, I may have been raped, but sometimes we go back into this hole and we allow those positions to define who we are and what it even positions, even in relationships and in marriage. Don't be stealing my notes, Mr. At the court. I'm just messing with you. But But we allow those transactions to define who we are and what we become. And they were like, the power of the P. Yes, the power of the P. And y'all know what the P is. We got two of them. It's from a male perspective and a woman's perspective. Why we allow those things to define who we are in relationships instead of allowing the intimacy to take place. Once again, like I said, God first in all we do. So in that intimacy, if it does come to a point where the organs don't work the way they used to, then I have other ways to entertain you as far as from an intimate level. But what we do is we allow those past hurts, those past pains, to define the outcome of the relationship. Some people, I'm going to get comical. Some people say I don't like wasted wash-ups. So because of that, wasted wash-ups, I'm like, what? I know y'all like looking at me like, what? What does that mean?
What that be about?
1, 2, shabam. Thank you, ma'am. I'm sorry. Finesse me. Now let me. I'm sorry, y'all. Y'all know I'm off chain. But I had now this is hilarious. I had for some odd reason, people come and talk to me about some very unusual things. And so one of the things that the lady was thinking, the young man, he was like, Tracy, in my relationship, I gotta get some extra help. Okay. And she's like, I really don't even want that part. She says, I really prefer the foreplay and I want to be entertained. I want to be in a position where I can, just enjoy the moment. It's not about, as far as the position of indulging or even in intercourse. It's the fact that I just want to be foreplayed. And I was like, okay, well, he's looking at it as this act has to happen. And she's like, no, I just want the intimacy. I really just want to be able to be caressed. I want to be held. I want to be, loved. And if anything else happens, but he's so, the mindset is he's so focused on the other part that's not what she wants. She just desires him, And so once again, we allow that to define what we're going to have. And I can honestly say, for me, it has caused me to grow, because of the things that I have gone through. The intimacy for me is more important, where I get to know that person as an individual, intellectually, mentally, physically, spiritually, is more important. But we allow that sexual transaction to define the relationship. And I believe that's what has happened with a lot of people. We allow that to define. And when those things are not happening, whether it's spontaneity, whether it's in a position where, oh, I ain't getting none this week. Oh, we in trouble. Or, it was every other day. Now is once a month. We allow those things to define the relationship. And then you're in trouble because now the relationship was based off of a sexual transaction. And that's not what it's about. So as you start learning and growing that intimate part and the intimacy that becomes the foundation, and I mean, even a conversation, oh my God, people don't realize the intimacy with a conversation. It's so deep when you intellectually have that conversation with a person and you are comprehending what they're saying. Oh my God, it becomes more of a foundation. Or even when you just talk about God, man, when you could talk about God and his goodness and the deliverance and the brokenness and it's so enticing when you get to that point. You no longer focus on the sexual transaction. You focus so much on the intimacy that it becomes so important that doesn't matter. Yeah, it matters, but I mean the finesse of the love making is so phenomenal that it's because you're now in tune with your partner. So it's like, yeah, some people's like, I just, break me off here and there, but it's the intimacy that most women, I can't speak for the men, But most women desire is that intimacy before really the sexual transaction. And I yield my mic.
Thank you so much, Tracy. Very well stated. And you're right. There's nothing like some good, strong, meaningful pillow talk. Okay, when you can have that good, raw, candid conversation about anything, world events, investments, what the Bible, whatever. There's nothing like that. And you're right. And I think that's one of the problems that we face today. We have been so focused on the physical aspects of it, we've left out the emotional and the tangible aspect of it. And that's why relationships are struggling today. That's why. So I thank you so much. Siobhan, do you have any final closing thoughts?
Just pretty much, I think this whole conversation that we've been talking about tonight goes back to conversation. You know, a lot of things can be solved just from talking and then coming to some resolution, agreeing to some type of resolution. Excuse me. You know, because we can talk all day, but if we're not hearing each other and we're not agreeing to make a move because of it, whether it's with that person, without that person, making a decision, I think that's very important. And then just a small piece on what Tracy was talking about. Honestly, if we want to really do it the right way and have the best outcome, do it the way God said it. And I'm not sitting up here saying that I've always done it the right way. That would be a lie. But truly, when you do bring sex into it, it changes the whole dynamics of the relationship. It's even like chemically, it changes everything. You know, that's scientific as well. And so just really make, because, you know, it's meant, sex is meant to be within marriage, and it's a beautiful thing. But when you don't have that marriage commitment and on the outside of it, it blurs things, you know. And so just really, and then getting a feel for where you stand in a relationship is very important as well, because if you don't know where you stand and you're kind of guessing, that could throw things off as well. So just get real clear about that, and I'll just end right there. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Siobhan. Thank you so much. Daniel, any closing remarks?
My closing remarks are going to be, this is kind of like my go-to for anything. Matthew 6:33. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness. So you seek what God wants for you. You have a relationship with him. And in having a relationship with him, you'll know what he wants for you, because he's going to lead you in that direction. You're just going to walk right into it. And then, you know, all of the other pieces, they'll fall into place, because it was already written. It was supposed to be. The work that the work that we have to do in it. It's not struggling work. It's not trying to force the pieces to work together. It's just like I said at the beginning. It's just a merger. It's a merger. Your company has this strength. My company has this strength. We come together, then we can cover each other's weaknesses, and we can really accomplish something bigger together than we can accomplish separately. So I mean, it's not about the physicality of we think we put so much emphasis on the physicality of relationships, yes, of them having that, because we just grown to be, as a culture, as a people, to be so hypersexual about everything. Everything has to be a sensual, coming from a sensual place. I got to be pleasured. I have to be feeling good about you in order for me to appreciate you. Yes. When you take, don't even allow that to come to the table at first. That it'll come in on its own. It'll come naturally. You won't have to be uncomfortable about the conversation, because you had so much conversation on the person, my character, my personality, where I'm going, my family life, like we're saying, what we're expecting. This is what I like to do. This is what I really don't like doing so much. This is what kind of bothers me. And when they're putting all those things together, then they're mixing the ingredients that have a perfect buffet.
All right. Very well stated, as usual, from Mr. Two-Actor Coordinator Daniel J. Williams. And so this has been a very insightful and engaging discussion tonight. And Tracy, you're right. I see another series coming on about that discussion about the power of the P's.
I can't wait.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. It's a powerful thing, but it's also a dangerous thing. And so until next time, I want to thank my guests for joining me tonight. And until next time, I want to thank all of my listening audiences that's hung in there tonight with me. Thank you so much. May God continue to bless you richly today, tomorrow, and forever. And good night.